Hello there, and as usual, I'm Aaron from Laststandgamers, and welcome. So we're back on the Scrapland server, taking a look at a battle that happened between Fed and DBS. Yes, there was some other parties involved, but their parts are either a little bit minor or more of the mercenary nature, and you're also going to see a bit of commentary in the background from Conrad and Wizard. Now, the start of this attack all happened when I believe DBS offered Fed out for attack. Now, Fed were really not too interested in having a battle with them, but DBS given them an ultimatum and said, well, we're going to have to fight you or we're going to batter you next time you came online. A good old schoolyard bit of bullying it appeared to be. So Fed said, right, you know, we'll take you to the table. But Fed thought they would do a bit of a decisive strike and hit DBS before they attacked them. So what you're seeing here is the Fed Rovers, well, that's the one that's crippled here. The Fed Rovers actually tried to get towards the DBS base. They got detected, and what seems to have happened, correct me in the comment section if wrong factions involved, DBS managed to chase them down in the direction back towards their base. So you can see in the bottom corner of the screen here, this is one of Fed's rovers. It's damaged, it's been hit by the main bulk of the party, and here comes DBS with a giant ramming ship. Look at this big prod made of blast door armor. Now, the reason these sort of ships exist on this server is ammunition can be quite scarce at times. Sometimes there is plenty of it, other times you have to have a big stick, and poking your enemy with a big stick can really cause some damage. So you can see he's got his lovely lit neon features here as he's absolutely slamming that Fed rover into the ground. Now I will say them sticks do come with some problems, and you will see them later on in the video. So at this current moment in time, a fully repaired rover versus one that's damaged isn't too much of a match. The rest of DBS are heading to chase down Fed. Fed are slowly losing their speed. I don't know if they had the wheel settings lower or the thrusters. I think they've called this thruster type creature on the right the dog or something. The one on the left is just a standard sort of barge pole ship. But the creations of this server are weird and wacky. It's nice to see some rover as well. I mean, yes, we did see him on Mad Max, but we're seeing a little bit more of a combination here as well. So the Fed rovers are starting to get broken up a little bit by the DBS. DBS are picking their targets, and you can see this Fed rover on the right is starting to come off by itself on its own, and it could be a little bit vulnerable. So as they kind of maneuver on that right one that's broken off from the pack, the other two DBS rovers take on these guys. Now, they've not got too many rear firing turrets, and you can see the size difference between the rovers here. Oh, what a blow. That is definitely going to hurt that Fed rover. Of course, he's giving a little bit of Gatling gunfire back, but he's rolling out. Maybe you can get some of them rockets on target if possible. But it's going to take a lot of force to stop these DBS rovers. They are heavily armoured, and they've had a lot of time constructing and finalising their designs. The dog rover, of course, is taking a turn as well with the DBS flyer, and they're chasing down one of the other Fed rovers. Of course, these Fed rovers are quite nimble, faster to produce, definitely, than some of these DBS ones, but they are taking quite a hammering. The flyer itself there, trying to get on the tail of that other ship, but it's just not managing to do it. The speed of the smaller ship is just keeping ahead for the moment and buying him some time. That poor little Fed rover on the left though. Now, the last Fed rover who tried to escape, he's making a valiant stand here, and of course the big red prodding stick is coming in. It's tapping him on the head, and he's ramming him straight into the ground here. Oh, this is not good. You can see some voxel damage happening. Now, voxel damage is disabled on the server, but it can still happen when ships ram into each other, and he's about to dig him a giant hole in the ground. He is literally slapping him on the head with these sticks. You can see how effective they are. They might be a bit stupid, but they're damn effective. Yep, he has dug himself a nice hole, and he has buried that Fed rover. So you might think, what's going to happen next? Well, DBS show up at Fed's base. So Fed's base is down in the valley there. You can see the DBS Indominus. He is scouting the area and attempting to drop some bombs. Maybe needs a little bit more practice on the bomb dropping though, because he drops these far off target. But it's not going to matter too much because the rest of DBS are reviving. Now, Fed put some really nice defenses in place. You can see on top of the bunker on the right, they've actually got these little rocket type drop pod ships. I'm not too sure what they are. They'll have to be corrected in the comment section, where they can either launch at them and try to hit them, but you can see some of the DBS rovers in. They've also got this little black field of dots, and what that actually is just blocks that sticking up out the ground. And of course, DBS don't fall for that. They jump straight over it. But in the process of jumping over, they're actually going to take a lot of fire by the look of it. There's a lot of Gatling gun fire down, and And what's this? They're ramming straight into the side of that turret. It looks like wheels are being ripped off. That is going to be a critical blow. That rover isn't going to be able to maneuver too well in this area. And if the Gatling turrets from the Fed base get onto it, they could be in a very different situation indeed. It looks like we've got 2 more rovers as well coming in here. These are the Proddy stick variety. They're trying to jump over the cattle prodders. If they get stuck on them, it will slow them down, allow the Fed turrets to do some work. The rover at the top right is not doing too well, but some DBS rovers with spikes of their own are getting involved. You can see we've got a car type rover on the right there, attempting to prod the dog rover. It's not going too well. The car rover has got absolutely destroyed. You can see it's smoking there on the left. We've got the stick rover on the right, 2 more stick rovers. DBS really like these stick rovers. They love painting in bright colours like red or pink as well. And we've got a launch of one of the missile type drop pod creations from the top by Fed. Now it looks like Fed are going to target this smaller rover. Now looking at these designs, it doesn't look like they actually have a warhead on board. It looks like a gyroscope there. Oh, it's not too controllable either. So I don't know if these are like quick drop pods to get them into a field in an area so they bail out over the top, or they plan on ramming it and destroying the blocks with it. I'm not too sure indeed, but it looks like Indominus is back with his flyer. Of course, there's limited hydrogen on this server, so he's got to keep an eye on that. Oh, and he might take a little bit of damage as he smacks into the ground. And it seems like DBS are in quite a predicament here. They've managed to ram their sticks into the enemy base, and now they are jammed. So there's not much happening here at the moment in time. So you might think it's over for Fed. Well, let me tell you, it's not. Fed have a variety of different ships in space, and they've decided to hit back at DBS's base while they're all out playing with theirs. So we've got one of the ships coming in. Now, I'm not too sure of what the strategy was exactly here, but what seems to happen is they want to ram their main base at DBS. So when they ram into it, they can all jump off, jump in there, grind down what they need, and possibly go for quite a slick victory while all the other DBS guys are out raiding their base. So you can see the ships ram straight into the side. The turrets are opening fire on Fed as they disembark. Look at that, that is a lot of firepower. It looks like the ramming blocks that were on the front actually phased through and now have dropped inside DBS's base. Quite amusing there. And as we have a little bit of a zoom out, you can see they're trying to thrust fully into that to cause some damage, but them heavy blast door blocks are really resistant to ramming, and you can see that cube that they built on the top there out the blast door blocks is holding strong. Now inside that rover, you can see Void, who's joined Fed, he used to be an ARC member. He's shooting up the turret there, and he's trying to gain some sort of access. He's grinding down the blocks, he's trying to find a way in, but it's taking time, and of course that's buying time for the DBS members to head back. As you can see, some of the other DBS ships have respawned back in, and they are heading back over to this area. They are launching miners, they are launching all their smaller defensive ships around the base to try and stop them from getting in there. Now you can see we've got DBS there launching a small fighter. I'm more worried for the players who are trying to board through this gap. There's a lot of mining and grinding rigs around here, and what DBS decide to do is they jump themselves in one of the grinding rigs and try to push the front of that ship away from their base so they can't just jump in there and grind straight in and take out their med bays. And as they're trying to do this, it's a little bit tough. It's a big rover there, and it's being forced by thrusters, but they're just about pushing it away. You can see Void on the bottom right there, he falls out, drops on the connector, and they're no longer going to be able to spawn and run straight into DBS's HQ. It was a very, very valiant attack though. It was a good plan. Of course, it just needed a bit more firepower to back it up. There's a lot of turrets tearing that rover apart, but they're not out of play just yet. So you see DBS is backing off with their rover. Shaggy is inside, but of course another one of DBS spawns. So it's pretty much a wreck in the middle at this time, and DBS are just playing with them, kind of say. They've got the grinder ships, they're trying to grind the thing down. One of the grinder pods falls off one of the ships as they give it a ram. The other grinder ship tries to grind down the other part of it. Fed's rover is going to become a permanent part of the base until they grind it down. The respawn bay at this time is disabled, so they can't spawn in and run over, and if they do get out of that ship, the turrets would surely take them out as well. So they're scrapping it down, trying to rip it apart. And I think at this point, DBS kind of had a feeling that this battle was probably over. There was not much more happening. There was bodies pretty much everywhere, Fed and DBS. There was ultimate carnage happening around this place. And you can see they're patrolling, making sure no one else is infiltrated in. Because it only takes one guy with a warhead to get in here and cause some serious damage to their base. So they were lucky to have kind of avoided that sort of attack. And there's the wreckage of the Fed craft. So jump into this next scene, we're heading back over to Fed's base now. Fed have got the same tactic. At this point, the rovers that got jammed into it had backed off. They'd moved to another location or moved back to Fed's outpost to try to support it. Of course, there's a little bit of a fight going on inside, and as you can see there, DBS managed to plant a warhead in Fed's base and it ripped the guts out of it. There's still a med bay, but it's now very, very vulnerable. They've got some backup survival kits. You can just see the amount of junk and scrap, as well as bodies that have dropped through the ceilings when that warhead had gone off. Fed went with a quite cool design for the base. They spaced it out with tires as well to try to absorb some of the impact. And they've got 1 or 2 spawn rooms in the back here. But remember, on this server, when the players spawn in, they don't spawn in with any tools, so they have to have a locker nearby. And because of that, there's literally players spawning in and getting gunned down as soon as they step out of there. You need some sort of locker, they need some access to ammunition. I mean, maybe ammunition and weapons could be on that survival kit, but since it's forcing them through the door, it's not particularly good. Of course, some DBS members are blasting their way through various different exits. Fed has a few different backup spawn bays. Banana D's locking himself in this side room at the moment. He's equipping a weapon of someone that's been murdered. Oh, what brutal fighting in here. And there we go. DBS have their med bay. A frantic fight, and when these bases get destroyed like this and you're fighting amongst the rubble, it can be pretty hard. Banana D's still taking cover in that side room. Now, you might think, yeah, it's got to be over for Fed now. DBS have just stormed the base and took out the main bed base. But no, they have more. They are launching drop pods from space. Now, I think these are drop pods. They could be some sort of missile, but they don't seem to explode or they don't seem to do too much damage. And the players survive about 90% of the time when they ram into it. So it goes straight in, impacting, blowing off the cockpit. The players bail out. There's the second one. And I guess the players could just walk in or try to grind in here. There's the ultimate. Commander Beaver, I think, has been shot by a turret over there. So I'm not too sure. Fed will have to let me know in the comment section if these are a missile design or a drop pod design. But whatever they do seem to get them to the target pretty fast. We've got another one of these missiles coming into the base, impacting the top. That heavy blast door armor doing absolutely, just not budging. It's not moving. When you hit that stuff, you've got to hit it hard with a lot of firepower, or you're just going to damage yourself since your blocks are weaker at it. So we've got another little thrusty missile going in from the side here. Now, I'm not too sure what the plan is with this one. Maybe it's to avoid the turrets, or he's going to hit the connector gap there. So, of course, no impact, no damage on the inside. We've still got the blocks from the mess before inside there. And it looks like Shaggy has managed to jump out there. Now he's moving along the side of the base. And funnily enough, I think this door's open. I think Fed must be kicking themselves at this moment, as well as DBS. They could have just walked in right through the door into the base all along, instead of all this ramming and blast door blocks. So Shaggy manages to get in there, but I don't think he expects to have got this far, and he's not equipped with any weapons, and of course a DBS member comes out of nowhere and guns him down. Oh, it's looking quite bad for Fed here, but they're coming down out of space with this really uncontrollable rover/flyer. I think it's only got thrusters in certain directions. They're doing barrel rolls. They're doing everything to evade it, but I think it's got DBS panicking. I think DBS are wondering just how much stuff do Fed have to send at us. Do we have enough to defend? Casualties of rovers and creations are quite high on both sides, and there's a lot of damage amongst the creations that are still left. So up in the sky now, we have the Fed rover, we have Indominus in his flyer, we also have Dictator coming up in a missile, and we've got Murloc Joe in the background, who I believe is taking the side of DBS in this fight. So there's a lot going on, but there's also a lot of firepower coming out from that Fed rover. So Murloc Joe's a bit worried about getting too close, and this missile is taking a lot of damage before it gets there. And of course, there is no warhead on this missile, so it's not going to be explosive. They're hoping for a hard hit on that Fed rover to penetrate it and possibly get stuck in there and damage it. But yeah, it's just not fast enough. The Fed rover's manoeuvring way too fast, and it's even landing missile shots on the missile as it's going behind. It starts to fall out the sky here. It's obviously losing hydrogen, losing thrusters, and the Fed rover's just kind of outmaneuvering the missile. Never a good situation for a missile to be in. But Fed are doing a pretty good job of holding on. And at the same time, there isn't much salt coming. When you see a lot of these battles happening, you kind of feel or see this salty result come to out the end where everyone's not happy and you know everyone lost or someone won and it's not fair. But both teams were having high spirits and they were having a blast destroying each other's stuff. And remember, these servers don't go on forever, so the best thing that you can do is, you know, have a laugh, destroy some of the people's ships, let them destroy yours, you know, have a bit banter about it and enjoy your time playing this crazy game that's Space Engineers. So Fed's rover at this point in time had been hit really hard. A lot of the turrets had been crippled off. Indominus is still taking shots, and he's even damaging himself with some of these missiles being fired, but he does definitely need to work on his aim. He's getting a few shots here and there, but he's missing a lot as well. Fed are doing everything they've got in their sort of aerial handbook to avoid the fire. Look at this, it's like an uncontrollable frisbee. I don't know if they're actually coordinating the tank. They must just be screaming inside there. They're definitely screaming at this point because they're heading towards the ground, I think, and thrusting at the same time. So as they go into the snow any second now, my only concern is the ships that are following him. Hopefully no one's following him too closely, or they'll be in the snow as well. So there we go, impact from Fed. Since there's no voxels, not too much damage to the actual craft. And guess who's following him too closely? There's Indominus in his little fighter, and he slams into the ground as well. Luckily, the voxels don't cause too much damage since they turned off for damage purposes. So what might be happening next? What are you thinking? Do Fed have anything more to throw at DBS? Maybe they do, maybe maybe they don't. So DBS at this point, they may be thinking, let's collect up some of these pieces, scavenge some of these resources, and, you know, get rid of these med bays that might be close to our base. And DBS made a good move here. They pulled all the members off the attack on Fed to protect their base. That was a priority. And in the process, they may have lost a few rovers or maybe damaged, you know, take extra damage to them. But you can see as they're trying to have a look around and see if there's anything spawning from this Fed wreck. Fed, of course, have another plan. They have some really strange rover that's full of hydrogen tanks. I think this was some sort of missile launching platform that was up in space. But you can see we've got plenty of hydrogen tanks, and I think the plan is very simple with this. They're going to go straight towards the DBS base and give it a ram. Now, at this point, I was really hoping that they'd learned from the previous attacks that them blast door blocks are super hard to ram. There's in fact really no point of ramming them. But as they fly down, the warheads are prepared to arm, and I'll leave you with this.
Hey, don't! We're about to be engaged. We're about in range. They're shooting!
Stand by.
OB,
At 300 meters, turn it on my go.
I can't see it. Just say it.
Keep going that direction. This direction. Hold this direction. Do not turn off. Stay on
Oh god,
target.
everything just spawned!
Get ready.
Stay on target.
Activate the warheads.
Oh jeez, I got inside their base.
Oh my god.
I lived through the impact!
I did too.
Me too. I have 8
Destroy stuff.
That was
I
a fucking fountain of
Basically
shit.
dead.
So I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you had a good time watching this battle, and great job to both Fed, DBS, and everyone else who was involved. Also, thanks to Conrad and Wizard for getting in on this event.